Drivers are being strapped in their boats. Mark Tate getting set in the Smokin' Joes as we're getting ready for Heat 1A. Racing all set to start. The T-Plus as well getting ready to go. And now we turn it over to our man who's going to call the races for you here today. An expert in the sport, has been for a long time, and we've been lucky to have him over the years here as we've been covering the sport of hydroplane racing. Mike Fitzsimmons with the drivers, the boats, and the call of the race. Michael?
Thank you, Steve. Texaco Heat 1A is brought to you by your Northwest Ford dealers, home of the Ford Taurus, the best-selling car in America. Seafair thanks Exide Nautilus batteries, standard of excellence. Now let's take a look at the combatants. We got the 4 hot dogs going right away here in Heat 1A, and this should be very, very exciting. The 4 fastest qualifiers picked for the very first heat of the day. That's a little unusual. You don't often see that. And we have first up in lane number 2, it's going to be, lane number 1 rather, it's going to be Mark Tate, and he's driving Steve Wilmer's Smokin' Joes, the former Winston Eagle, the boat that went upside down here last year in that final heat. That's the same boat. They won the Gold Cup this year. They're a strong racing boat indeed. In lane number 2, to the outside will be the Miss Budweiser. Chip Hanauer is working on an all-time record for this particular boat. It could become the only boat ever to win 25 victories. This Miss Budweiser, 1987 boat, running little, of course, needs no introduction. This guy's done it all. This is a great race boat. Underfunded. Everybody said it couldn't be done, but Fred Leland and Dave Vilwalk has put together an incredibly strong racing team. They don't have a lot of depth of equipment, but this boat, the Performance Mortgage Sunset Chev, could very well win the American Dream today. These fellows have got a different kind of a hull design. We'll talk about that, but Steve and David has been driving it faster and faster all week, and Jim Harvey, the owner of the T-Plus engine treatment with Teflon, is ready to go racing here, thinks this may be his day in the sunshine here in Seattle, their home port. And Mark Evans, who you just saw out there driving in one of the antique race boats, now climbs into one of the antique Davers, Miss Exide, back after 29 years on Lake Washington. And of course, Rob Thompson, who is the representative owner for the Exide Racing Organization, this racing team, bringing back a lot of nostalgia, a lot of history, and they're the ones that fly the Detroit Yacht Club flag.
And local man Bill Brow, fine driver from our area, who drove that boat way back when.
Members of the Brow family working on the boat now. Jack and Doug working on the Exide race boat even as we speak. So a lot of tradition, a lot of history wrapped up in that racing team from Detroit, Michigan. A 2-boat team. Their 2-wing boat hasn't proved to be race-worthy quite yet. And you were asking the question a little bit earlier, Steve, do we have the race helicopter back in time? Well, it turns out it is, but not necessarily that the race helicopter would have to have been back here, but it is. And we're inside the 5-minute flag range, the yellow flag period. This is the period in which the boats are to come out. Remember, in the old days when we saw these other race boats, these old shovel-nose race boats race, they worked with a clock and a countdown, and they could choose their own lanes, and they did a lot of dicing, and there was a tremendous amount of pre-start racing that went on. Here is not the case. We are utilizing the flag starts, Indianapolis style, if you will. The boats have to line up. Slowest qualifying boat in the class will be this one right here, because she comes in under the commissioner's option. This boat is Mike Jones's U7 racing team, the International News. They'll carry the outside and be the pace boat. And of course, Chip Hanauer has chosen lane number 2 to start from. International News have a little problem getting started here.
This boat just entered onto the circuit last week at Tri-Cities. Right. I know it was built to be a 4-engine automotive boat, and it is huge.
She's a 34-footer. The International News, of course, is Mike Jones. He has driven every single kind of racing boat there is, sanctioned by the American powerboats, including the RC Unlimited.
It's a tremendous competitor.
This is a 34-foot racing boat, and he calls it effectively, affectionately, I should say, the vessel.
I like that it's sponsored by Northwest Cargo, which is its size, it could do a great job in that work.
The builds that it used to have before they put that turbine in there, it could carry as much as a 747. All right, the boats are beginning to bunch around. They're going to wait for Mike to get out there.
He is up and running.
And they're going to try to get him tucked in with that one as well. The boats will line up, of course, with the Smokin' Joes on lane number 1, the Budweiser lane 2, the American Dream will shorten that Performance Mortgage Sunset Chev American Dream down to American Dream on occasion, especially when I get excited. The T-Plus engine treatment on the Exide, and then we'll try to position the International News on the outside, get the boats all lined up. Now, one thing we'll look for as they go through the north turn, or turn number 2, they're headed now down through the south turn, turn number 1. As they go through the north corner there up by the floating bridge, the lead boat, the outside pace boat, which is now circling the inside of the course, might have just stayed there, Michael, and they probably would have caught up to you, but in any event, he'll catch back up to them. The lead boat will be going through the turn there. You see Jim Lucero, the field general for the Smoking Joe's organization.
The winningest crew chief of all time.
Yes, he is. Unquestionably, he is. They're waiting for Mike Jones now to catch up down from the south to the north. When they go through, he should carry an arc ahead of everybody else. And the inside boat, the Smokin' Joe's, will be against the buoy row and should be the last boat lagging back. Now, they might just go ahead and give these guys a start if Mike Jones can't catch up. So we're going to watch that flag waving on the tower.
This turning around on the race course, this is their third lap around now, is going to make some tremendous rollers out there.
Especially now as we enter the north turn, it's going to be a problem because that's where the wind direction is coming out of the north and east at this moment. And that will be the area that we'll watch very carefully. And that'll be the time when the boats are actually at speed. They won't be at the highest possible speed.
They're going to bring them around one more time.
From the north to the south. Yes, they are. One more time around, and Mike is trying to catch up back there, lagging back about a half of the straightaway distance now, and he's going to try to catch up and bring them down. They're going to be able to make the start at about 130 miles an hour. There you see Mike on the upper left of your screen making his approach to the other guys. I think he'll catch up now. We'll get him in order now. The other thing is that the officials, Rick, want to give them a start as soon as they are in order. They don't want to go around one more time.
This water gets chewed up fast enough.
It does indeed, and it's already pretty choppy down there to begin with.
It looks like he's caught him on the outside now.
Yeah, so we'll look for Mike to kind of speed up and move up the outside then and establish a slight lead in the arc as they go through the upper turn. The fellow that will be able to see the flag on the inside, of course, is the Smokin' Joe's Mark Tate, and the guy on the outside who can see the flag from the start-finish line tower where we are, of course, will be Mike Jones. The other guys in the middle are going to have to key on the other fellas, and John Walters, as they come through the first corner, everybody but the guy in the first lane is going to have to determine where that turn is based on the guy inside of him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The only disadvantage that Chip's got in the number 2 lane, even though it's a faster lane, is that if Mark Tate gets there first, he cannot see the buoy line because of all the water that's in the air. So you have to judge your turn based on what the boat ahead of you does, and that little bit of reaction time, you lose a boat length or so.
Okay, we've got an excellent arc coming through this corner. My thinking is they're going to drop the green just as soon as they can. We've got a couple of people out of position, maybe not.
Nope.
No, sir.
Bringing them around. Bringing them around.
It isn't going to happen. Going to send them around one more time. Mike was in good position, but we had a couple free boats. Now they do give him the green flag. Now we do have a green flag flying from the tower, and most of the boats had already gone by, so we are in a racing boat, and here they go down into the first corner, and in the 3 lane, it appears, coming out of the corner and not actually anticipating that they were racing. It looks like it's the Miss X-Side that is leading them through. Let's see what happens here as they come up the back chute now. No, that's the American Dream leading them. In second place, the Budweiser. In third place, it is the Smokin' Joe's, and I think the drivers were confused as to the fact that they actually got a green flag start. But they're not confused anymore because everybody has screamed on the radio, that's a go, and they're off and running. And Dave Villwalk, no surprise, even though this boat is a surprise to many for its speed, Dave Villwalk is not a surprise to us. We've watched him on the circuit drive just very beautifully throughout the entire...
he's holding a very tight line.
Look at that, he has a very tight line. Budweiser's riding some water.
The boat's real free going down the back straightaway, guys. Keep an eye on that thing. Dave Villwalk really has his hands full as this thing goes down into the wind.
End of lap number 1, Dave Villwalk in the American Dream, in the Performance Mortgage Sunset Chev American Dream is your leader, and he has a pretty decent lead by about 5 or 6 boat lengths. On the inside, it's the Smokin' Joe's now beginning to reel him in a little bit. The Budweiser rode some water on the front chute and has lagged back considerably now. In third place overall, it's the X-Side. Budweiser's having a problem out there and is flying through a lot of bad slop and now has been passed yet again. So up the back chute now, just as you say, yes, the American Dream is flying a little bit, but is being able to maintain its lane, and the speed advantage, however, in the corner is going to go to the Smokin' Joe's off the corner. This should be a very, very close lap as they come down to the start-finish line in lap number 2. T Plus in third place, X-Side in fourth, Bud in fifth right now.
It appears that Smokin' Joe there with Mark Tate has got a little top end on David as he gets down to the boat again, getting real high in the air, and when he has to lift his foot off the throttle there just a little bit, that's just the advantage that Nate's looking for, or they're looking for in the Smokin' Joe to creep up there a little bit.
That time, however, it appears that the Smokin' Joe had to eat a lot of bad water out there and lost some distance through that corner, pounded around pretty viciously out there, but now Mark is putting his foot back in it, down the back chute. It is the Performance Mortgage Sunset Chevrolet. Here you see the Budweiser in an uncharacteristic 5th place right now. Very uncharacteristic from this Budweiser.
I'm sure that going that slow, you know, it's pretty obvious that they've got some sort of a problem, but the other thing to keep in mind, that Chip's really taking a pounding out there, having to run back in the rough water, and it really is lumpy out there. I'm sure that he's really feeling every one of those bumps right now.
Checkered flag is out for the Performance Mortgage Sunset Chev. Dave Villwalk wins Heat 1A. Second place, the Smokin' Joe's. third place, it'll be the T+. Oh, getting very, very light is Steve David as he crosses the line. Fourth place overall, Mark Evans in the Miss X side. And bringing up fifth place, and obviously with some problems, it is the Miss Budweiser, and this is going to bode very poorly for Chip in terms of lane choices. It's going to put him outside and give him some very bad choices upcoming.
I've got to think there's some controversy over that start, too, Mike. They were spread out and threw a green flag out after half of them had passed by us.
That's right. Theoretically, they're supposed to leave the green flag up between the 500-foot buoy and the start line buoy, but it actually came out after the boats had passed us by. We have a problem with the International News off the north turn now. It looks like she's lost some tail feathers. All of it, in fact,
the wing is gone.
So your winner, the Performance Mortgage Sunset Chev Pico American Dream. These names sometimes get so long that it's almost like Leviticus through Deuteronomy, but in any event,
which is not easy to say at any time.
That's true, too. Say that 5 times fast. Here comes your winner.
Are they racing today?
And a lot of folks say, gee, is that Fred Leland's boat? You better believe it. That's Fred Leland's boat. Look out. This one's an up-and-comer.
One of the few owners that's campaigning 2 boats. The only owner.
Boat won 3 victories in preliminary heats at the Gold Cup and almost had the final wired also. There you see a chunk of the International News that fell off the race boat. Several pieces strewn across this race course now as the boats come back. The International News now under subdued power trying to get restarted. Mike Jones with some difficulty, and obviously his 2 uprights are gone, or one of them's leaning over now. Both of them are, and his wing is gone.
And Mike and Rick, the other story, of course, the fact that the Miss Budweiser is still out there on the course making its way back. You know, we talked to a number of the pit personnel this morning prior to the beginning of our program, and they were saying that yesterday, late in the day, when Chip Hanauer took the Bud out for a little test run, they were having some steering problems. In fact, clipped a buoy at the south end of the course. They thought they had it corrected. They tested a couple of times this morning. They seemed to have everything all right. But something happened out there today, and Chip Hanauer just kind of laid back for the rest of the race. But Dave Villock certainly didn't.
Well, Dave is a fine driver, and of course he was also part of the engineering behind the come-from-behind 1,000-point win that took place in 1990 that allowed them to overcome the Budweiser with the Circus at Hawaii and win the national championship. We've got a possible penalty we're looking into right now, possibly assessed against the Smokin' Joe. We're going to check that out. Just like you suggested, there might have been a little bit of trouble down there.
We may have a situation where he slid out a little bit, too, and went down the Budweiser.
He did, and the Bud did eat some slop down there.
Exactly. Real wide out there in the first turn.
I know we had a problem last week in Tri-Cities. The Budweiser was assessed a penalty in the final for sliding out just slightly and pushing out on the Winston, or on the Smokin' Joe's boat.
That's correct. But this American Dream has come to race, and the Performance Mortgage Sunset Chev boat is definitely going to be a factor here this afternoon.
Particularly now that he's going to have lane choice going into the next round.
Which is exactly what you're playing for right now.
There's Tom Glasgow standing by with the winner of this heat. Tom?
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Dave Villock. Well, we talked before the race, David. You said it's very important if you're going to get to Chip Hanauer and beat the Bud and have some assets as far as lane assignments later on in this day. You got to get it done in the first heat, and you got it done. Yeah, we had a good run out there. Thanks to Brian Peasack, gave me an awful lot of power to go out there and run against the big guys. And we got a good lane, got a good start, and the rest of the team came together, gave me a good boat that made the whole race. Looked like a very confusing start from our vantage point, but as a driver, was there any confusion at the start of that heat? No, I think some of the guys tried to lag back to get a hot rod start. We just stayed up with the base boat, and when they said green, we went green. Boat ran as well as it has run this year. Is that a safe assessment? Yeah, it's running good. It's a little rough out there because all the laps around, but the boat ran good. So far, so good. We'll talk to you later on. Dave Villock, the winner of Heat 1A.
All right, Tony Ventrella standing by as well now down in the Bud camp. Tony, what's the problem down there, have we heard?
Taking the boat out of the water as we speak right now. There's Chip talking with Fernie Little about what happened. Let's see if I can get Chip to come on for 1 second now. 1 second, Chip. Obviously not the place you wanted to be. What was the problem?
The engine, I think. As soon as I left the dock, I could tell it wasn't there. And then it came to life for the start. And I had a great start, and I was leading, and then got to the top corner, and it just kept going slower and slower.
But it's fixable?
Well, yeah, I'm sure, but now with a 5th place finish, it's going to be tough.
Okay, there's no way you would go to the new boat at this point?
No, we're committed.
Okay. Okay.
We're in trouble.
All right. Okay, Chip. Thank you.
All right, Chip Hanauer says he says he's in trouble, but we have seen him start from lanes other than the most advantageous. And with that boat and when it's running right, and of course the skill of the finest driver out there, Chip Hanauer, anything is possible for that Bud team, John.
Yeah, it sure is. He has the ability, as this Budweiser team does, to reach into their bag of tricks and pull some rabbits out when everyone least expects it. And I think that even though the Budweiser team very rarely has to run under adversity and has to run from behind, they work better like most of these teams do when they're under pressure. They manage to reach in within themselves and pull something out.
Well, I tell you, I'd rather be in trouble in that boat than any other boat in the beach.
I was going to say, conversely, the American Spirit, American Dream boat over there, if they break something, they are in trouble because they have been trying to preserve parts all season long. Let's check in with Ron Callan now, who's also in the pits. Ronnie?
I'll tell you what, we're waiting very patiently for the International News boat. The tail sheared off. We're waiting to talk to the owner and the driver, Mike Jones, and as soon as he gets here, we'll go to him.
Okay, Ron. Thanks a
He's
lot.
going to be there quite a while because
you
right
might
now
want to make lunch.
Yeah, I'd make an appointment because he is there. You see him, and he is still about 500 yards to the north of the start-finish line. Well, Heat 1A was brought to you by your Northwest Ford dealers, home of the F-Series truck, the best-selling vehicle in America.
That's it. Heat 1A is in the books now. And your winner is the Performance Mortgage Sunset Chevrolet American Dream, driven by Dave Villwalk. Chip Hanauer, a disappointed fifth. Smokin' Joe's, we're waiting to see if, in fact, the penalty will be assessed. Meantime, the KeyBank Air Show continues overhead. My, but we have a big day planned for you here on the shores of Lake Washington. Hope you're enjoying yourself. We've got some trophy presentations and the like coming up in just a couple of minutes. Stand by, everybody. Racing continues on. This is A-10s flying overhead here on Lake Washington. We'll be back in just a moment.
Not finished.
Right.
Can they assess a cash penalty?
Welcome back to Stan Sayers Pits. We've just completed Heat 1A, which many people think could very well be a repeat of the final. The fastest boats on the water today all raced in Heat 1A. By the way, we've been following for you. There was word that there might be a penalty assessed. Nothing. Smokin' Joe's going to get by with no penalty, so Mark Tate and company come up with 300 points as the second place finishers in Heat 1A. The 400 for the winner goes to Dave Villwalk and the Performance Mortgage Sunset Chevrolet American Dream. The Miss T Plus is third with 225. Miss Exide 169 is fourth, and Miss Budweiser fifth at 127 points, and some work that those guys have to do in the Budweiser pit. Meantime, let's go down to the presentation stage where Dave Villwalk is going to pick up the trophy for his winning of Heat 1A. Well, you can see what's going on down there. You just can't hear what's going on down there, but I can tell you that they are congratulating Dave Villwalk and company and the sponsors of the Heat 1A.
Hello, I'm Michael Pop.
There you go.
As a member of the Seafair Executive Committee, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Rob Thompson of Exide Nautilus Batteries, who will be introducing the winner of Heat 1A of the 1994 Texaco Cup.
Good morning, I'm Rob Thompson. Exide Nautilus Batteries is proud to be a sponsor of 1994 Texaco Seafair. We'd like to congratulate Dave Villwalk of American Dream on the Heat 1A victory.
Thanks, Rob. It's a pleasure to have Exide involved with the sport.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Nice race, Dave.
All right, and Dave Villwalk deciding not to say anything, taking his trophy and going to run back to his pits and be congratulated by his crew members. A job well done by that team. All right, Ron Callan was waiting on the driver, Mike Jones, and owner of the International News, to arrive after his boat was towed in. A little bit of problem out there. Ron, you got him?
Well, we have Mark Evans, who finished fourth in the Miss Exide. He's kind of going through a time warp, Steve, because he was in the Miss Thriftway in the 50s, and then he had to jump into the 90s in a period of 5 minutes. I think it's the first time in history drivers had two boats in the water within a 5-minute period of time.
I believe so. That was something. I didn't realize the time was getting that short, but you know, we got the Thriftway out there, went around, had a great ride. That was just nostalgic as can be. It was so fun for me, and then to jump into the Miss Exide that quick and go, that was really something. But hopefully, I'm pretty sure I got 150 points for the Thriftway, too, so we've got to add that.
So you're in the lead.
I hope so.
Very quickly that start. It looked like the green flag came up a little late. What was your perspective?
Well, I believe it did, but I don't know. The rest of the drivers might agree with me. I think they're just happy to get the go. You know, it was getting pretty rough as many times as we were going around out there, so it's quite the ocean effect again, and I think we're just happy to see it go. But everybody was nervous about this first heat with all the hot dogs in it, so we got that over with. We can get on racing for the rest of the day.
Let you take a breather, and good luck later on the day.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Ron, thank you. We're going to go to Tony Ventrell in a second. I do want to ask Mike Fitzsimmons, though, while we have a break. Mike, I want you to check out there and find out if the guys out at the tower think that they dropped that flag just a little bit late. Find out about that. In the meantime, we're going to check in with Tony Ventrella. Tony?
Thank you, Steve. I'm here with Steve David of the T+. Pretty good run. Certainly satisfying enough and kind of gets you ready for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it does. You really want to find your setup, and it's pretty bumpy out there. We were set up a little too loose and couldn't use everything, but the boats are running great, and I'm sure looking forward to the next set of heats.
Now, Chip was one of the guys you were thinking about running against. All of a sudden, you don't see him except in your rear view mirror.
Yeah, that's where we like to have that boat. Of course, that's where we want all of them, but you know, they'll come out punching again, as were the other two boats. But I mean, that first heat was really all the top boats, so that was a good indicator of the kind of competition that's going to be for the rest of the day.
So the water's a little rough, but how do you adjust?
It's well, we can't flatten the water, so we try to make the boat ride flatter. But the T+ engine treatment crew will get it set down a little bit. We'll adjust our wings and just have it ride a little closer to the water.
I think Bernie figured out a way to flatten the water, but he hasn't sold that secret to anyone.
Yeah, not yet. Maybe he can afford it. We'd rather work with the boat, save the money for something better.
Okay, Steve. Good luck second time out.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, T+, Steve David, pretty good run. Third place in that first heat. Back to you guys.
All right, Tony, thanks a lot. I think Bernie's out there walking on that water right now, but that's a whole other story. Tommy Glasgow's standing by now, Tom.
All right, Steve, we're with Mark Tate, a very unhappy Mark Tate with the start of Heat 1A. And Mark, give us your read on that. I know you did have a heated discussion with the race referee, Mike Noonan.
Well, it was with Mike Noonan and Jim Codling, and you know, the referees, what the rule book reads is that we're supposed to come around the corner, staggered out, line up as we come to the line and hold a certain speed, and being that there's a starting box out there. When we're in that starting box, we're supposed to be totally lined up. Well, we were never lined up. I came off the corner, me and Chip did, and we were probably, I'd say 4 boat lengths, maybe even more behind Dave Villwalk, because I caught him out of the right of my thighs, and he was going like a cat's meow. So I legged on it, Chip legged on it, we kind of accelerated together. He got a little better jump than I did because he could see David before me. When we got to the starting line, those guys were 5, 6 boat lengths ahead of me, and that's just not the way these things are supposed to work.
So the complaint is not with the other drivers, it's with the race officials who say, go.
Right, absolutely. The race officials should have never said go. We were never lined up in the starter's box. We weren't all maintaining the same speeds, and it was a basket case. I mean, the outside guys, he had such an advantage, it was unbelievable.
In your estimation, was that the worst start of any heat this year?
Some of our starts earlier this year till everyone got the swing of it were quite bad, but this is the worst one we've had in the last 3 races, and you know, it should have been waved off. One of the referees should have seen what was going on and waved it off, because even when I was going to the first turn, I radioed to my guys. I said, is that a real start? And they says, yeah, go, go. And I was going, but just very disappointing.
Beyond that, how was the ride for your boat? How was the water?
The water's very sloppy. The inside lane's very, very tight and very lumpy in there. Our acceleration rate was down. We don't know if we're relating that to water or boat setup, so we're looking at making some changes here.
All right, well, I know you didn't like the start of that one. Maybe you'll like the start of the next one. Mark, we appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Mark Tate, the driver of the Smokin' Joes, and we'll talk with him throughout this day. Already a controversial day for the Smokin' Joes racing team. Steve?
Boy, indeed, and made no bones about it, did he, Tom? Yeah, we'll continue to follow that. And Mike, before we take a quick commercial message, any word from the folks out there? Do they think that they dropped the flag as prescribed?
There is a standard answer you get from the officials on the tower, and that is that the only official is the flag when we drop it, and that's when it starts. In other words, whether they liked it first or liked it last, the fact of the matter is when it drops, that's the only time it's official.
All right, there you go. That's the official answer. In the meantime, Smokin' Joe's picks up second place, at least. So Mark Tate, with the speed of that boat, did come back after a not-so-good start. We got the second heat, Heat 1B, coming up in just a couple minutes. We'll set those boats for you and bring you more racing action from Lake Washington. The Texaco Cup 94 rolls on. The sun's peeking out here in Lake Washington more than it has all morning. A slight overcast made it actually kind of comfortable. Wind's not kicking up too much as we've completed one race. Heat 1A is in the record books, and the American Dream wins it. We're getting set for Heat 1B coming up in a couple minutes. But again, we don't want to belabor this point too much, but let's go back one more time and take a look at the start of the race. Heat 1A, we heard Mark Tate talking just a couple of moments ago. He thought that the boats were way out of line, should never have been started. Tate is on the far right line of your screen. He'll be the farthest inside boat. And John Walters, what do you think? Does he have a reason here to be upset?
Yeah, I think he's got somewhat of a legitimate beef there. He knew that everybody was ahead of him, and when they get down to the entrance pin here, you'll see that he actually was the very last boat to get there. However, having the inside lane, he did have the shortest distance to get around there, and the Smoking Joes managed to get through the first turn reasonably well and come out in second place. So the worst case is he's going to get, second lane choice going into the next deal, but that's not bad.
And I think Dave Villwonk would say, hey, I was right on the money. He was the one that was furthest out front and hit the line right as the flag.
Yeah, and they really have to know that at any point in time, the officials can drop the flag and go for it. And it's their call. That what the officials do is the official ruling.
The only disappointing part about it all, gentlemen, is it would be nice to be able to see the flag drop before you cross the line instead of having someone on the radio tell you, by the way, it dropped after you went by.
Right. Can you imagine what would have happened before they had radio contact with these boats? You'd have had about half or three-quarters of the boats just trailing along thinking they weren't racing, when in fact the green flag had been put out.
Then to show you how confusing it could be, we did try a flag start with the Grand National hydroplanes down in Texas in between heats of the Unlimiteds. They did not have radios. They went around 7 or 8 or 10 laps, and they didn't have any idea that the race was over.
Well, the work continues down in the pits on some of the other boats. Drivers are getting ready for Heat 1B, and we're going to come back with that action right after this. You're looking at Interstate 90 off in the distance here in Lake Washington, and some of the boats scattered about the lake. The log boom absolutely jammed with fans, and the shores here, well, about 250,000 people are expected to be here today, all for Seafair Hydroplane Sunday. And what a great day it is. We talked about kind of coolish temperatures. The sun's not been out much of the day, but the boats are getting ready for Heat 1B. Let's go back to the start-finish tower. Rick Corella and Mike Fitzsimmons.
Thanks very much, Steve. Texaco Cup Heat 1B is brought to you by GTE. With GTE, it's amazing what we can do together. Seafair thanks Golden Grain Mission Pasta and Dinner for their participation in Heat 1B. May we join you for dinner tonight? Well, let's take a look now at the boats that are running in this Heat 1B. Checking them out now, Scott Pierce makes his return to Lake Washington after a couple-year hiatus, driving a new race boat. The KMPS presents Miss Burien Pit Stop. It's owned by JR, Ron Jones Jr. Bill Worcester's Tide, driven by Nate Brown, is also in this one. Probably the boat to beat in this one. The Tide has had a great year this year. Has been running very, very strong with Nate still filling in for the injured George Woods. The KISW Miss Rock with Jack Berry. He's a turbine man now. Used to be boat man. Used to be a 12-cylinder guy. But Fred Leland's other boat. You saw the American Dream win out there in the first heat. Now we got Jack in the KISW. And Mitch Evans with the only piston-powered race boat, the Spirit of Lake Chelan, and thank you, firefighters. That's what it says on the race boat. His home, of course, Lake Chelan. The fires over there have been on his mind. The Lake Chelan Spirit is here in the form of Mitch Evans and Ed Cooper's hydroplane from Evansville, Indiana. And, of course, Dr. Ken Muscatel, who we saw in the antique boats, he's out here in the Pete's Wicked Ale. But he's not having a very good afternoon yet. Look there. There's the Wicked Ale. Canopy open. Wicked Ale is out of business right now.
That was
strike that. That's the Spirit of Lake Chelan.
Yes,
it is. Strike that. The Wicked Ale is still running. Sorry about that, you beer fellas. As a matter of fact, coming to the outside right now to lead him around, it is the Pete's Wicked Ale. He'll be the pace boat in this one. We lost the Spirit of Lake Chelan. Sadly, all the rest of the boats are in pretty decent arc. We're in the white flag segment, so we could have a green at any time. Let's see what happens this time, and if the officials can get their timing down a little bit better. I think they may possibly have a start here. The alignment looks pretty good. The flagman's looking to see if the green will come out, and it does not. But then again, anytime's all right now, guys, if you want to do it. It didn't this time.
Alignment.
The alignment actually was quite good, and at any time in the white flag phase, they could drop that green flag, and this alignment was a whole lot better than the time last time when they did drop the green flag. So one has to ask themselves the question, what's happening up there? Anyway, around the corner.
Mike, I'm wondering, is the Spirit of Chelan actually in the race course out there on the backside?
It does present a little bit of a hazard, but the guys are going by it right now and know that it's there. It's pretty close to the infield line. Looks like it has drifted off the track.
Yeah, he is inside the red buoy there, which is the marker of the other side of the back straightaway there. So I think he's in pretty good shape.
All right, this time the boats are coming down the back chute again in great shape. I think the alignment's going to be fine this way. They're all cooperating. They're all aware of the late flag issue that happened before, too, so they don't want to be out of position for this turn. And leading them through and arcing out ahead of you is that first boat there. That's, of course, the Pete's Wicked Ale. In lane number 1, on the inside, it's going to be the Compass Presents Miss Miriam pit stop. That's Scott Pierce. Lane 2, the Tide. Lane number 3, it will be the KISW Miss Rockin' on the outside. It's going to be the Pete's Wicked Ale. Here they come to the line this time. The alignment again is good. And this time they do let them go. The green flag is out, and the timing was all right on that flag. Here they go down into the first turn. The Tide is pushing along with the Compass Presents the Miss Miriam pit stop. That's Scott Pierce on the right-hand side of your screen, dueling now with the Tide.
It looks like that Scott Pierce is returning to this league. Scott Pierce hooked it, went
out.
inside. He's inside on the race course now.
He did indeed.
He's still running. It looks like he's going to come around the buoy and get back on the race.
Yes, he missed the buoy, and he'll have to pick it up. Too bad for Scott. That pretty much concedes the race to the Tide, unless it can be decided by some other method. And right now, it appears as though Ken Muscatel is not ready to concede the race. He is pushing hard on the outside in the Pete's Wicked Ale, and the Tide is not particularly fast, having gotten the word on the radio that here he comes up on his outside. Ken Muscatel pushing hard in the Pete's Wicked Ale is going to break outside of the Tide here as they come off this corner and make a race of it.
Right on his hip. He's coming very strong.
He's got a long ways to go around the outside there. I'm pretty sure that Nate was running conservative because he didn't think he had to run that hard, and they're real short on equipment today. They're hurting for propellers and running gear.
We have lost the Miss Rock in the north turn also, and now Scott Pierce will overtake the Miss Rock's position and pick back up to third place position as they go through the lower corner. I agree with you, John. I think they radioed and said, hey, we just lost the challenge, so to speak, if you will, in terms of Scott spinning, and that was the end of it for them, but they didn't anticipate that the Wicked Ale was not ready to concede this race at all. And once again, coming up that back chute, it appears that Ken Muscatel is serious about racing with the Tide. That's the Tide you're looking at. We're on lap number 2, the back chute, headed toward the north corner now. Nate Brown in the orange boat, on the outside in the red and yellow Pete's Wicked Ale, buried in the rooster tail. You have Ken Muscatel, and he's driving very well through the corner. There is a boat now restarting, and that is the KISW Miss Rock, and it's going to leave a little traffic out there for these guys to worry about. In fact, he's going to present some problems for Ken Muscatel, as you can see, who now has some traffic to negotiate. Here comes the Tide across the line at the end of lap number 2. And that is the KISW Miss Rock next to her, but the Miss Rock is not in second place. She's a lap down.
That's going to hold that lane pretty tight for Ken Muscatel as he goes in there. Jack Berry sitting in that third lane.
Now you can see Muscatel. Oh, he comes way out, way out. Uh-oh, he gets way out in front of the Miss Rock there. He kind of lost it just a little bit and slid out quite a lot that time. But once again, he puts his foot in it, and the Tide is not able to pull away quite comfortably. Instead, they have to contend with seeing Ken Muscatel in his mirrors as Muscatel one more time, and the Pete's Wicked Ale is going to give chase here. He's running very, very nicely, John. We haven't seen this boat run this good so well.
Yeah, Ken's driving this boat real hard, and I know that everyone on the Pete's Wicked Ale dock down there is enjoying it. He's getting through the turns pretty well. He's got a much longer ways to go out there in the lane 3 or 4, but he's hanging right on there, and Nate's not able to drive away from him.
Yes, and there's not going to be enough real estate for him to overtake the Tide Taco Time, but in any event, he put on a good show out here. There's your winner, Tide Taco Time across the line, and there you see the Pete's Wicked Ale with Dr. Ken Muscatel in second place, and a nice run for Kenny. Third place overall belongs still to Scott Pierce, right in the Compass Miss Miriam pit stop, and fourth place is Jack Berry, a lap down, who is physically running behind the 2 leaders at the moment. Okay, the checkered flag comes out for this boat. It is Scott Pierce. This is the former 3-wing Circus, a very interesting design in its own right. And he has a lot of problems having spun, lost a lot of distance. He's got a lot of engine noise as well that it doesn't sound terribly healthy, and he's going to head right back to the pits, I'm sure, right away. But he gets scored third place, 225 points, having overcome some of the distance down.
Scott Pierce happy to return to this lake, too. A champion 1991 in the Budweiser on this lake. Looking forward to getting back out here and mixing it up.
And so your winner, the Tide, is coming down on a cool-off lap, and your last place boat is in the north turn still racing. And that is the KISW Miss Rock Jack Berry handling the driving there. He comes off the corner now. Here he comes down to get scored. He'll be the number 4 boat, pick up 169 points. Jack Berry having a full season now in turbines for the first time in several years since his career started.
And one of the first times we'll probably ever see Jack Berry ahead of the Budweiser in the point scoring so far.
That's true. Somebody's going to have to wake him up and reveal that to him. He'll be quite startled.
Jack Berry, by the way, for those of you folks who don't follow the sport of hydroplane racing quite as closely as the rest, Jack Berry is one of the great characters on this hydroplane circuit. Drove piston boats all his career, was generally covered with grease from head to foot, was lucky to get out there to get that boat operational for a heat, and now he's driving turbines. And I think the other day somebody said, what's been the best thing for you? He says, well, what I miss the most about the old boats, he says, I used to like talking to the tow drivers all the time. Spent all his time being towed in from the hydroplane dying out there on the course.
That's right, just coming in under his own power is a new concept for him.
He had to learn how to dock the thing.
There you see Mitch Evans. He never got a chance to get into it.
Tony Ventrella standing by on the tide dock right now. They got a lot of happy folks down there as they prepare to welcome Nate Brown back, the Rookie of the Year just a few years back. When we talk about up-and-coming drivers, guys, this Nate Brown is one of them.
Boy, he's a very fine driver, and in his own right, in many respects, one of the ultimate race boat drivers and a crewman. He works on the equipment. When he isn't driving it, he's got his face down in some part of that, repairing it. He's an excellent hull man, a boat designer, a builder. He can do it all.
Let's go to Tony Ventrella down there on the dock as we watch Nate Brown exit the Tide Taco Time. Tony?
All right, Steve, Nate just raised his hands, got a little applause from the rest of the Tide folks here. We're going to talk to him just a minute. I know they had some prop trouble last week in Pasco. Obviously, that's been worked out. As soon as he takes that funny-looking mask off, we're going to be talking with Nate. Go ahead, put it back. That's good. You sound like Chip now. Nate, you had some prop trouble last week. Obviously, the prop trouble, to use a really bad joke, is behind you.
The prop is behind us. You guys, I tried as hard as I could to run a couple extra laps to fill in some more time for you guys, you know, but...
I appreciate that. How'd the boat run?
The boat ran really great. Tide and Taco Time, it's great to have those two guys together, and, you know, we had a pretty easy draw, and so I was keeping the guys out there. We had a lot more left, but we only have a couple of propellers left, and one of them's on the boat, the other one's in the middle of the lake. So unless we want to go find the other one, we best keep the one we got, huh?
I know what you mean. All right. Well, listen, now have a little drink of that thing. Oh, it's funny you have a Taco Time cup with you.
It's just amazing, isn't it?
The timing.
They were going to hand me this thing, but they said, get my helmet off, but it doesn't quite fit on that, you know, so, oh well.
All right, great. Good job, Nate. We'll come back to you later on today. And by the way...
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. She's not watching, but I got to say it anyway, you know.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody does. I thought you had better lines than that. All right, let's move on over to Ron and Jack Berry.
Thank you very much, Tony. You know, Jack, believe it or not, you're leading the Miss Budweiser right now, even though you finished fourth. That's kind of maybe a first for you.
Well, yeah, it is. It's a nice position to be in, but we're only in the first round, so.
Talk about what happened out there in this heat.
Well, the boat was really running good. Went up in that turn up there, and it got a little wet. There was a marginal lane, I felt, and washed her down. She put the fire out, got her lit again, and brought it in fourth.
Brought her in fourth. Now, do you miss those pistons at all, or you like the turbines? What's your attitude there? Give us the honest answer now.
Oh, I sure like the pistons. I'd like to see a good, strong Merlin in one of these. I think it'd really work well.
All right, Jack, congratulations. See you later in the day.
Okay.
Jack Berry, let's go to Steve Rabel.
All right, Ronnie. Tom Glasgow is standing by as well in the pits, and he's got something for us. Tom?
All right, Steve, we have the good doctor of the Unlimited Circuit, Ken Muscatel, driving the Pete's Wicked Ale to a nice second-place finish. Looks like a very good run, Ken.
Actually, we ran really strong, and we were real happy. We're delighted to be able to represent Pete so well. Last year, we didn't run at all, and they came back with us, showed some faith, and we're delighted to be here, delighted to put on a good show, and I'm just pleased with the finish.
You were aggressive out there, it looked like. You had Nate and the Tide ahead of you, and you went after him.
Yeah, I mean, you're here to race and to put on a good show, and we were hauling the back straightaway particularly. I mean, I could pull him, but I just couldn't quite turn with him. It's real rough out there. It's pretty much victory at sea, but it was a lot of fun.
Real rough. Gee, we never hear that phrase linked with this course, do we?
Well, actually, this is like a roller coaster ride through hell. But aside from that, it's a lot of fun. I mean, this is the big speed. This is the big show.
Enjoy the ride. Have a safe day. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Ken Muscatel, the second-place finish in Heat 1B in the Pete's Wicked Ale. Steve?
Congratulations to him. Here are your final results in Heat 1B, the Tide Taco Time. Nate Brown picking up 400 points. Pete's Wicked Ale at 300 points, finishing second. KMPS pit stop, third. They tally 225 points. There's Jack Berry's KISW Miss Rock at 169 points. And the Spirit of Lake Chelan, the only piston-driven boat, by the way, in that event, now being towed into shore, did not start and obviously did not finish. Too bad for those folks over there. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier, the fact that he has, thanks to the firefighters, written on the side of that boat, his home over in Lake Chelan. A lot of friends over in that area. We'll be talking more about the Evans family a little bit later in our broadcast coming up today. So there you have it, the results of Heat 1B. Mike?
And Heat 1B was brought to you by GTE. With GTE, it's amazing what we can do together. We'll be right back on the shores of Lake Washington with more of the Texaco Cup, but now this time out.
Welcome back, everybody, to Stan Sayers Pits. We've finished a couple of races now, Heat 1A and 1B, and the winner of Heat 1B is set for his trophy presentation just down in front of us in the pits. Let's go there now.
Hi, I'm Michael Poth. As a member of the Seafair Executive Committee, it's my privilege to introduce Mr. Paul Rossi of Golden Grain Misha Pasta and Dinners, who will be presenting the award to the winner of Heat 1B of the 1994 Texaco Cup.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Paul Rossi from Golden Grain Mission Pasta Dinners, and we're pleased to be a sponsor of the 1994 Texaco Cup. On behalf of Golden Grain Mission Pasta, I'd like to present this award to Nate Brown, driver of the Tide Taco Time. On behalf of Tide and Taco Time, I'd like to thank everybody here in Seattle. I never really think I get a chance to be up here for this deal, but thank goodness to lucky draws and a few boats having some bad luck, we were able to make it to the final. So thanks to Bill Wooster and the whole guys in the crew, we were able to pull that one out. But I'll tell you what, there's a few more heats today. We'll hopefully get back up here again. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Want to remind you to be sure to stay tuned to Kiro TV following Heat 2B of this afternoon's race for the announcement of our 1994 Subway Fun in the Northwest Sun Sweepstakes winner. Now we're going to be giving away a brand new Sterling 1700 bow rider boat courtesy of Boatland USA, plus an HO Water Sports ski package valued at over $600 and a Pepsi Fun Pack. Let's go down to the pits and Ron Keller.
As promised, Mike Jones, the owner and driver of the International News, lost a wing in Heat 1A. And Mike, what happened out there?
Well, we were going down the front chute, and I tried to turn the wing so all the fans could see who the sponsor was, and then I guess it proceeded to melt and split into two. No, we've been having wing problems. This is a brand new boat, and you know, we're just trying to get all the parts and pieces to work right. So it's going to take us a little bit, but we'll get there.
A little more than wing problems. Show us the prop. What the story is here.
On the last lap, going into the last turn, the tip came off the wheel, and I felt the vibration. So I shut it down. I tried to kind of coast through the turn, and then you could see me start it up out there. I was trying to get to the finish line, but I had a little too much vibration, and said no, I'll shut it off and make sure the rest of the pieces we can go out and run for the next heat.
Well, you started this whole thing in May. You made it to the Tri-Cities. You're here. Good luck the rest of the day.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Hope the fans enjoy it.
All right, Steve Rabel.
Ron, thanks a lot. Lots going on for the fans down here on the shores of Lake Washington, and for you two who are watching here on Channel 7 while folks work feverishly in the pits to put these boats back together or get them in running order after Heats 1A and 1B. There's also the KeyBank Air Show going on. The Acro Flyers aerobatic team comes sailing through here in their, here they are now, as a matter of fact, right on cue. In their biplanes, they have a terrific show all set up for the folks here over the waters of Lake Washington. Lots of folks out on the log boom are watching as well, and you can take in a little of that also. Also coming up today as we continue to talk about hydroplanes and the history and all that of the sport, we also want to talk about some of the people in the sport. We're going to talk to you more about the Evans brothers from Chelan and problems, of course, that they've been having over there in central Washington with the wildfires. Absolutely incredible, and we sure wish our best to all those folks who are watching in and hoping for a little bit of a break in the weather and some kind of help in putting out some of those fires. That certainly is a real problem over there, and we wish the best to all those folks. But again, stay tuned to Channel 7. We've got all the stories for you coming up right here, and my goodness, we've got Tony Ventrella in the pits again, this time with Scotty Pierce. Tony.
All right, Steve, thank you. Disappointing run for Scotty. You hear my voice now. You'll see our actual faces in just a second here. You got out and then had a little trouble. What was the problem out there?
Well, I tried to, you know, I knew I needed the inside to beat the tide. It's a fast boat, and so that's why I took the lane, and we beat them all the way down to the corner. But going in the corner, she took a couple big hops, and it got up on a roller, and it just took the steering wheel out of my hand and spit me off into the infield. So KMPS presents, you know, the pit stops, a great boat, but it needs, we're going to have to move it back out to the outside where I can keep the air underneath it to get through these corners, and you know, that's just the state of the evolution of the hull at this point.
But the boat itself, you think, performed pretty well, though. You like that?
Well, I was real happy that, you know, a top 3 boat in this sport had beat to the corner. I mean, there's a little light at the end of the tunnel, but, you know, I'm not especially thrilled about spinning through the infield. That's not a lot of fun. So.
No. No, I can't imagine. But now you look ahead to another shot at it, then your adjustments will be made to be out there. As far as the way the boat ran, though, you're going to have to adjust it all?
I'm going to loosen the boat up, hopefully to be able to get it through the corners easier, and then I can fly it on the canard down the chute. It had a great boat ride in the chute, but we're just having some difficulties in the corners, which is, you know, this is the second race for this boat, and it's been a problem for us, but we're going to get it worked out, and it's going to be real competitive, and I'll be winning these races soon.
All right, one more thing. You've been gone for a couple of years. You happy to be back?
I'm thrilled to be back. I wish I didn't have 3 cracked ribs spinning through the infield, but no, mentally I'm really happy to be back. I missed the sport, and hopefully I'm good for the sport. The sport's good for me, and you know, we'll continue to put on a good show for years to come.
Okay, it's good to see you back, Scotty.
Thanks,
good luck. Have a good day. All right, the rest of the afternoon, he's hoping for a little bit of luck. Scotty Pearson, KMPS, a beautiful boat. It runs pretty well, but as you heard, he's going to make a few adjustments and try to go back out and do it later this afternoon. Getting noisy up in the skies. We'll toss it back to you.
It sure is, Tony. That's the Acro team flying up there. They're just having a wonderful show here with their biplanes, and we'll continue to watch them. In the meantime, we're going to bring you these commercial messages and come right back to Lake Washington. Seafair 94 continues.